example, that would be an angle between 90 and 180 degrees. Now notice it's positive because it went counterclockwise. Alright? So the measure of an angle is determined by the amount and direction that it moves. So the amount and direction. From the initial side to the terminal side. The angle measure is positive if it's counterclockwise. So if it's starting my initial side and I'm going this way, counterclockwise, it's a positive degreed angle. If it's if it's clockwise, it's negative. So that way. But it all starts at that x-axis at 0. The terminal side of an angle can make more than one complete rotation. All the way around is 360 degrees. So if you have an angle that's 480 degrees, you've gone a complete 360 and then a little bit more. Alright, so here you've got the unit circle, which I believe you've seen before. So if we're filling in the positive degrees, 0 is always there, because that's the equivalent of the x-axis. It's always at 0. Then I'm going to go up. Halfway would be 90. Then I've got 180, 270, and when I get back, I'm at 360. Alright, so now it's been divided up again, and in between here is 30 degrees. So you've got 30, then it's going to go 15, all the way around. 120 degrees. So that's the positive degrees because we've gone counterclockwise. So if we fill in the negative ones, 0 is still going to be here because it's always there. But this time we're going to go this direction. And these are all negative because we're going clockwise. Negative 360 is still here too. Okay, use this when you actually have to draw the angles. Use this to kind of help you reference. Alright, so on page 3, now we're actually going to draw an angle with a given measure in center position, then determine which quadrant that terminal side where it ends lies in. So the first one is 60 degrees. So I know I'm always going to start here at 0, and then I've got 90, 180, 270, and back to 360. So 60 degrees is going to go between 0 and 90 degrees, and it's positive. So 60 degrees looks about like that. Now if I'm going to tell which quadrant it is, remember it goes backward, so that's going to be quadrant 1. Alright, the next one is a negative 45 degrees. So remember, we're going to go clockwise on this one. So negative 45 degrees is going to be halfway between 0 and negative 90. So it's going to be there. And that is quadrant 4. That terminal side lies in quadrant 4. Alright, 510 degrees. 510 degrees is all the way around and then some, because it goes at least 360, and it's positive, so we're going to go that way. Alright, now we're at 360. So if I go another 90, that puts me at 450. another 90 would put me at 540, which would be too much. So 510 degrees is going to lie somewhere in the middle of them. And that would be quadrant 2. Okay? The next thing are reference angles. A reference angle is how far an angle is from the x-axis. Because it's talking about distance, because of how far is a distance, it is always a positive answer. No matter if your angles are negative, your answer, your reference angle is always positive. It's always the shortest distance. So if your angle, your reference angle is over 90 degrees, you haven't gone the shortest distance, so you need to go a different way. So it should always be an acute angle, which you'll see what that means. Alright, so number 1 is 120 degrees. 120 degrees, just sketching 120 degrees. I just sketch it to kind of get a visual. 120 degrees, there's 180. So 120 degrees is going to be about here. Alright, now, if I'm drawing my acute angle, meaning my answer should be less than 90, the shortest x-axis is here, to that 180 degree mark. So its reference angle is going to be 60 degrees, because of 180 minus 120, 60 degrees. So it's 60 degrees away from the nearest x-axis. Alright, number 2. This one is 375 degrees. So we're going to have to go all the way around and then some. So we've got 0, then we went all the way around, so we've got 360. So for this reference angle, we're going to go straight down. Now I don't want to use 0 as my reference angle because that answer is going to be way bigger than 90. So I'm looking at 360. 375 is 15 degrees away from 360. So its reference angle is 15. Okay? Number 5. Negative 140 degrees. So we know we've got negative 180 here. So this one's going to look there. Now, even though it's negative angles, our answer is still positive because we're talking about distance. So the closest x-axis is right here, so we're going to make our acute angle. 180 and 140 are 40 degrees away from each other. So our reference angle is 40. Alright, pause it, and you try those last 3. Alright, number 3. Draw our negative 210 degrees. It's going to be in here. And our closest x-axis is at 180 degrees. So 210 minus 180 is 30 degrees. So it's 30 degrees away from the x-axis. Alright, 495. We're going to have to go in a complete circle. That puts us at 360. That puts us at 450. And another 90 would put us at 540, so we need to go that far. So now I'm looking at 540 on my x-axis. I'm not looking at 180, I'm looking at 540. So 495 to 540 is a distance of 45 degrees. 540 minus 495. Alright, the last one, negative 27 degrees. So we've got going this way because it's negative. And because we didn't have to go around, that's still 0 degrees. So there's our acute angle there. So 0 minus negative 27 is 27 degrees. So it's 27 degrees away from that x-axis. That's what all these are. How far away from the x-axis are they? Okay. The next thing, we're talking about coterminal angles. We just looked at some coterminal angles because all that means is that they lie in the same spot. The angles are in the exact same spot. So An angle is coterminal with a given angle can be found by just adding or subtracting 360 degrees. When we were finding those reference angles, we had to go in, let's see, in number 2, we had to go around a complete time. So 0 and 360 lie in the exact same spot because it's one complete circle. So 0 degrees and 360 degrees are in the same spot. So 0 and 360 are coterminal. For number 4, we had to do 495 degrees. Well, at 540 degrees, I've also got 180 degrees. Those two are coterminal because they lay in the same spot. 450 and 90 are also coterminal because they lay in the same spot. So it's one complete circle to get back to that spot, which is why to find coterminal angles, all you have to do is add or subtract 360 because that'll put you back in that same spot. For example, 90 degrees. So I want to find an angle that lies in the exact same spot as 90 degrees. So if I just think about it visually, there's 90, and if I go in a complete circle again, I've gone 360 degrees, which is 450 degrees. So 90 and 450 are coterminal angles. I could also go the other direction, which means I'm going negative, so 90 minus 360 is negative 270 degrees. The good thing about coterminal angles is as long as you're adding and subtracting 360, it's very hard to get these wrong because there are infinitely many possible answers. As long as you've added and subtracted 360, you're good to go. So number 2, 220 degrees. If I add my 360, I'm going to get 580, and if I subtract my 360, I'm going to get negative 140 degrees. Number 3, I'm going to have 150 degrees because I subtracted, so there's my subtraction. I could add 360 degrees and get 870 degrees, or I could keep subtracting 360 and get a negative answer, which would be negative 225 degrees. Or I could keep adding 360 to 870. It doesn't matter. All right, number 4. Could subtract 360 and get that, or add 360. Or I could subtract it and get that. The goal for these is all I'm asking you to find is a positive and negative coterminal angle. So, bottom of page 4, find one positive and one negative angle that are coterminal. So I'm just going to list up, pause it and you try it. I'm just going to list up a few possible answers. And as long as you're adding and subtracting 360, and one of them's positive, one of them's negative, you're good to go. So in number 7, you didn't necessarily have to add 360 anywhere because just subtracting 360 one time gave you the negative answer. So then you may have to keep subtracting 360 to get to the positive answer. That one. Number 10, if I subtract 360, I'm still at a positive 310, so I could subtract it again to get my negative. But 310 would also be your positive coterminal angle too. Alright, the last thing in this lesson are going between degrees and radians. To go from a degree to a radian, all I do is multiply by pi over 180. To simplify that means divide by 180 and put a pi in it. So to go from radians to degrees means to multiply